Namaste. Welcome to Bhakti Yoga Conference 2026. Sacred community, walking the path of love together. I'm Happy Jack, founder of Happy Jack Yoga, and our host for today. This is our second annual gathering, bringing together beautiful souls, over 40 of them, who are scholars, monks, musicians, spiritual leaders, really from around the world. So we opened the conference at the Harvard Divinity School, and our closing gathering will be at Oxford Center for Hindu Studies. And together, as a community, we're exploring how devotion and spiritual community can really support us on this path of Bhakti Yoga. As of now, well over 6,000 beautiful souls have registered for the conference, including Harvard students, practitioners of Bhakti Yoga or devotees, yoga teachers, and spiritual seekers from around the world. And really, it's meant to be a space for spiritual friendship, for sacred community, for heartfelt conversations. If you love, please share a message in the chat. Let us know where you're calling in from today. And really, wherever you're calling in from, thank you for being a part of this global Sangha. It's now our honor to welcome today's speaker. I'll bring on spotlight here while I say a few words, and then we'll introduce. Please welcome to the virtual stage our dear friend Rajiv, or Raj. Raj Nandha is a purpose-driven leader, executive coach, and global speaker, co-founder and CEO of Think In Limited. With a background as a clinical pharmacist and former NHS consultant, he has led nationally recognized well-being programs tackling burnout and resilience in healthcare. He designs award-winning educational projects, lectures internationally, and coaches leaders to foster values-led, resilient cultures. Blending Eastern philosophy with evidence-based practice, Rajiv drives personal and organizational transformation. Beyond his professional work, he leads Food for Life London, providing thousands of meals daily to underserved communities. Today we are honored to welcome my friend Rajiv for a conversation on Rise in the Darkness. My friends, if you're ready to welcome Rajiv to the stage to Bhakti Yoga Conference, throw your arms in the air and loudly chant, Haribol! Rajiv, welcome to Bhakti Yoga Conference.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here, and I just want to congratulate you for organizing such a wonderful conference with so many great souls. And I remember meeting you at the Govardhan Eco Village, and it was such a wonderful energy and connection that we had. So, and I just want to say what an incredible uh, platform that you've created to spread wisdom, to spread uh, love, to spread bhakti. It's so incredible. So I just want to congratulate you, and yeah, well done to everyone also who's joined today. It's really wonderful to be here.
Well, thank you for the kind words. It really means a lot from you, because you too have really, I've seen some videos on YouTube. You've put on some pretty epic events, really bringing light to the darkness, as we'll get in today. And it's true. When we met a few months ago in India at the Govardhan Eco Village, there was a connection. There was like I don't know, we're somehow walking a similar path, doing similar work, and now we get to have this first official conversation publicly. And as you may know, the first question that we love to ask our speakers, just so we get to know you before we jump into your system, what brought you to your spiritual path? How did you end up in Bhakti Yoga?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's very interesting actually. So I grew up in the UK, and I had Indian parents. So my parents had a practice that they would have, a ritual that they would have, and so I had kind of seen a bit of this as a child, but it never really stuck with me or never really resonated with me as much. I was really inquisitive though of what is spirituality, what does it mean to serve, what is, all these questions were in my mind. And I guess growing up, I saw like a balance of Eastern and Western cultures. Because living in the UK, I was going to schools here and saw that life, and also saw things at home and different texts. And So at the age of 11, actually, I was given a book called the Bhagavad Gita, and it was something that really interested me. Particularly like the character Arjuna, like he was a warrior, he was fighting a battle. So it was just something that really appealed to me when I was young. And like this hero, like somebody who was like fought. So it was really appealing and interesting for me. The Mahabharata's epic story from India as well, which the Bhagavad Gita was part of, was appealed to me. And then I kind of really just carried on with my life as I was growing older and just continued. But it was like a seed that had been planted.
Wow.
And as I grew through university, did my exams, did my studying, yes, it was there in the background, but it never really was internalized or never really like took to it. But once I finished university, once I actually finished my studying and did like 100 exams or something crazy like this, I I realized I was working one day and I realized like what have I just worked my ass off for? What have I worked my socks off for this long? Because I had everything material that somebody could ask for. I had a nice car. I managed to get a house at 25, brand new car, everything that materially somebody could ask for, but I wasn't feeling happy or satisfied. So something was missing. And that's when I really like started to evolve this journey. Okay, how do I look for something deeper? So I started looking at meditation, started reading different books. I actually had a trip to India where I went to Rishikesh. It's a very spiritual place. I started doing my first meditation. And then slowly, slowly, I read, the book, the Bhagavad Gita, and different spiritual books. And that's when I really kind of started that journey of spirituality. And yeah, and the rest was kind of a slow progress in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. You know what I really appreciate about what you just shared? Sometimes we meet seekers or teachers or devotees who share, and it's beautiful. I'm very inspired by it, but they say, they found Bhagavad Gita, they read it, it answered all their questions, and they were just all in. And that wasn't the case for me. And it sounds like you as well. Like you'd been exposed to it, something was there, but you went on with your life and you kind of kept doing the thing. And then it seems like when the timing was right, right? When you were right, you'd had some material experience, some material success, and it's like at the right stage, it's kind of arranged, and then you're like, okay, now's the time to take it seriously. So I appreciate that you share that. It kind of makes me not feel so bad for being feeling like a slow learner, but
Mm.
it's like actually this is very much all part of the divine plan, I suppose.
Mm. Yeah, like they say, like slow and steady wins the race, like some people who come into this spiritual path, they really get enthused early on and they basically go all in at the start and then they realize like it's not sustainable.
Right.
Whereas I'm actually grateful for the steady progression that I've had, over time and experience. And it's still you're a lifelong learner. I still feel like I'm learning, and like just like you, I still feel like I'm progressing, and
Yeah.
I have a way to go, and each step is going to teach me certain lessons, and the aim is to always go deeper and deeper at each point. With that, also, your friends may change,
Yeah.
the people you hang out with may change, how you see life changes, maybe your diet will change, um, your realizations will change. But it's all beautiful because that's what life is. You're constantly evolving. So
Yeah. I love that. And we're going to get into your topic, but I just want to ask one more because you're right. Like as we go through this journey, things change, we change, and naturally our friends change. We make different lifestyle choices. How do you navigate that, like with either family or friends that don't understand what you're up to and what you're doing? Because I got a lot of people in my life that I've never felt like physically, mentally, spiritually more nourished in my life. At mid 40s. But there's a lot of people in my life that think I'm a bit crazy, and they don't understand what I'm up to. And I don't try to, I don't preach to them. I don't try to convince them. But I'd love to hear from you, like, how do you Do you have anybody in your life like that, and how do you navigate that?
Yeah, it's interesting because like even as I was becoming more and more spiritual, my family would say, what is going on? Why are you becoming more spiritual? Why are you not acting normal? I mean, I was acting normal, but why are you not acting like a normal person who goes out to clubs, who drinks, who does these things? And yeah, like it was interesting that um, people would feel like, or you become distant, not distant, but kind of the resonation is different because they're the same, but your consciousness may have evolved or your perspective has evolved, but they're still the same. Like they like the same things, they do the same things, they like to go to the same restaurants. And like I understood this after that. Firstly, is we have to have compassion that they're scared to lose a friend, right? They're feeling like, okay, yeah, you were like this before, but now you've changed. So there's a fear of them losing someone, or they feel like or somebody's changing, which it was something we have to appreciate. Okay, this is where that's coming from. But the best way I have dealt with it is just by showing them how much of a better person I've become. How much happier I am. Like you said, you've never felt better. You never felt more energized, more enthused.
Yeah.
And I say this to anyone actually who's listening. Actually, if you feel like you're getting this from your family, from your friends, I think by just showing kindness, showing a human aspect, showing love to them, this is what it's supposed to do for you. You're supposed to bhakti and yoga and spirituality is supposed to show that compassionate, empathetic side. And so this is a soft way I can share this. I can share it in a more harsher way as well. And that is that, and this I heard this one time is you now have the opportunity to connect with something higher. You've been given this gift or this privilege, right? Therefore, you almost have an onus or responsibility to demonstrate them positive qualities to the people around you, right? Because they haven't seen this, or they may not have had received this mercy that you have received. So therefore, in one sense, also it's a responsibility that when I wake up today, I should act positively with kindness, with love, with compassion, meet them where they're at, not be distant, not be cold, because sometimes this is a tendency when you become spiritual. Some people can become distant, cold, unreactive, oh, I'm just doing my own path. But no, this isn't the point. The point is showing them love. That is the actual essence of, you know, what we're doing. So if you can't do that, then what are you doing? You know?
Yeah, it's so beautiful. Just there's compassion in the way that you explain. Like it's being ourselves, being the light, but compassionately. Like I've shared probably in one of the earlier calls how initially I was enthusiastic when I first found yoga like 15 or 17 years ago, and I was like everybody should do yoga and everybody should be vegetarian and this and that, and that was not inspiring or influencing anybody. And so
Mm.
maybe now I've taken a little bit of a backseat and it's just like I'm just kind of doing my own thing. But I love this idea. I think this is really important that we actually have a responsibility. We've been gifted this tradition. We've been gifted this path, these tools, this wisdom, and there's some responsibility, especially as we get into your topic. Rise in the darkness. There's such an opportunity for light.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we basically have to demonstrate this to the world, because I think that the world needs spirituality, the world needs light, and the few people who have been gifted with this idea of waking up, they say like more unfortunate than being blind is to have sight and not have vision and foresight, and be in ignorance. So still seeing something, but being asleep to it.
Yeah.
And in this world we're living in, we have this all around us. There's so much ignorance, there's so much pain, there's so many issues happening. And I can start basically with this idea of darkness is I was in the World Economic Forum just recently in January in Davos. And it's interesting, for those of you who don't know, it's like a place where every prominent person gets there. Leaders, economists, people making decisions. And it's in a small town in Switzerland where everyone gathers. It's really expensive to get there. And somehow, it's my second year I was there. And whilst I was there, I was listening to all the talks, all the topics that were coming up. So simultaneously, Donald Trump had come, and the issue of war was happening. Which war we're trying to stop, the Ukraine war. Now we have the war in Iran, and all of these things were brewing on an external level. Simultaneously, yet the other discussion was around loneliness, AI, overuse of technology, how AI is taking over. And one of the interesting topics was around how people are becoming so lonely that they're using AI as their companion. They're going into relationships with AI. They're using AI as a psychologist. Even AI has trained people to commit suicide. So if you look up cases, the AI has convinced the person that they should commit suicide. And it's crazy because we're living in a time where it's never been as big as dark, it's and you can feel it in the atmosphere, which is a negative, but simultaneously what I did see is an uprising of spirituality, because after COVID I can see that people have realized that there's more to life. We can't carry on like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is where this idea of RISE comes from, and there's an acronym, and I can share that. We'll go through this.
I would love that. Yeah, it's important to address it. I mean, I honestly I could just be blind to it. Like I somehow like I use Chat GPT, and it's like it's super helpful in ways, and but it's important for us to know how some people might be developing these false relationships, and to that extreme of making poor decisions like that. But yeah, I'll have many questions, but why don't you like kind of share this
Yeah.
framework? I understand you've got this rise framework. I think we all have a great sense of like the darkness, the Kali Yuga happening right now. Please share.
So this framework actually comes from Bhakti Yoga, and in Bhakti Yoga, because it's the title of our conference. So in Bhakti Yoga, there's a three-step process. What we like to share, it's if you study it deeply, there's a three-step process to perfection or attaining love, and that's in Sanskrit. The three-step process is the first step is sambandha, which means the relationship. The second step is abhidaya, which is the process. And the third step is prayojana, which is the perfection. Right? So this is a terminology that comes from, rooted from Sanskrit and Vedic philosophy, and also integrated in the Bhagavad Gita. So this is the root of this acronym I like to share with people, and it's called RISE. And RISE essentially stands for, one is the R is relationships, which is, you could say, sambandha. So our relationships with people, our relationships with ourselves, and ultimately our relationship with divinity. I'll just do a summary of it, and then I'll just go into a little bit more detail for each. The I is being in the moment. So our mind sometimes is really always chaotic, and sometimes we're never present. Sometimes we lose that internal practice. So having that internal practice to try and cultivate being present, being in the moment, is the I. The S is for self-discovery. So a part of the perfection is finding your own purpose, finding your own dharma. Like until you find your own dharma, you can't really be satisfied. When I mean dharma, I mean your occupation or your unique gift to the world, right? Like until you find that special quality that you have that you can share, then you can't be fulfilled. And the E is enlivening acts. So if you study most spiritual scriptures, and if you study Bhakti Yoga, the essence is service. when we act for others, when we give back to others, this is the culmination of everything that you will learn in Bhakti Yoga is how can I serve? How can I help others? How can I extend myself? Even this idea of servant leadership has become prominent. So service to others, service to divinity. So this is the essence. So Rise is something I've used many times in our in my conferences and my talks, etc. And now I'm kind of sharing this with people. So the first one is relationships. Now, I think everybody knows how important relationships are. When we are happy, when we have good relationships, if you have a good community, automatically you're going to feel happy. Like whether you have a good relationship at work, you're happy at home. If you have a good relationship at home, you're happy at work, right? It's all around us, good relationships. And it's a human tendency. We're looking to love and be loved. Right? It's our basic quality that everybody is searching for. There's a study from Harvard University, and it talks about what is the single most factor that demonstrates somebody living longer. And it wasn't like a lot of money, or it wasn't even the health, or all of these things. They were all secondary or tertiary, but the first one was positive relationships. People who had surrounded themselves with good people, good relationships, meaningful relationships, they lived longer, they lived happier. And you can see with this idea of AI, you can see what's coming through, because what's happening is, and maybe people can share on the chat, put yes in the chat if you agree, that we're starting to use AI as a friend, as a psychiatrist, as our consultant, as our companion. So if you've seen that either with one of your friends or if you've done that before, you can just write a yes in the chat. Let's get a consensus.
Yeah.
We we're becoming dependent on AI, right? It's almost like our best friend now, you know?
Yeah. I just want to say it's almost like a slippery slope because here I was starting to say, oh, I innocently use Chat GPT, because I don't use it as a therapist. I've got a great therapist named Dunya Rico, who's a speaker next week. But what I do, and I've convinced myself it's okay. I say like, okay, we're gonna do this marketing for the Bhakti Yoga Conference, and now coach me the way that Tony Robbins and Russell Brunson and name all these really great marketers, and or help me develop questions like Oprah Winfrey or Jay Shetty. And so it's like in a way it's helpful, but I guess there becomes that tipping point where it becomes we become dependent on it.
Exactly. And it's okay to use ChatGPT. I mean, technology is there to be used,
Yeah.
but how do we use it? And it's very easy because it has all the answers, or supposedly gives you answers. So therefore, what we're seeing is many in the younger generation is, yes, if you look at the data, the older generations uses ChatGPT for these kind of practical things and dips in and out of it. But if you look at the younger generation, they are using ChatGPT almost every day, every moment, and incredibly a high rate and amount.
Oh,
And that ChatGPT, they're now turning to ChatGPT to ask, or AI to ask personal questions like family issues, relationship issues, personal feelings. And we've got to ask ourselves why, right? Why is it that somebody has to turn to a machine, right, to ask for these kind of questions and answers, right?
because they don't have the relationships, which is what you're speaking of.
Exactly. We don't have that relationships. And I'd like to throw this out to everyone and just maybe think about this question to yourself. How many people um, do you have in your life that you can turn to and ask deep, meaningful questions, right? How many people do you have that somebody you can share, like when you're confused, when you have a doubt, when you need some guidance, right? How many people do you have in your life?
Yeah.
Then the second question I want to ask people to reflect is, how many people do you support, How many people do you guide or you take care of? How many people are you there for? Right? So often we ask, okay, how many people am I are there for me? But then equally, we have to ask, how many people do I take care of? And they say, like in the spiritual context in the Bhakti tradition, you should have three types of relationships. The first one is somebody who's senior to you, who can guide you, almost like a guru figure, who has been through and walked the path already, and who has seen the things, and you trust them, and they can be there for you, right? And you may have multiple people, but you should have a set of people that can guide you. And one thing that Keshav Maharaj always says, and I always quote this, is in that sphere, it should be somebody that knows you, that loves you, and that can help you. Right? So these three things tick these three boxes. Somebody who knows you well enough to understand your individual circumstance, somebody who can help you, who has that knowledge, and somebody who genuinely loves you because they have the best interest for you. So one is having this type of people. The second is having peers. So having friends that I can just be open and honest and myself without judgment, without you know uh, any falsity. I can be fully myself, right? And the third one is somebody I look after, right? Somebody I can guide, I can help, I can support, I can give nourishment to. So they say we should all have these three types of relationships. However, we we don't. We always usually just have one of these, if at best, two. Um, so yeah, like this idea of relationship is important, starting with yourself. And then the last point I'll make about relationship is the first thing we all have to figure out. So anybody new to yoga, to bhakti, to spirituality, or even if you're not even into any of this, the first thing to figure out is what is my relationship with something higher, right? Whether it's the universe, whether it's God, whether even if you're an atheist, that's fine, no problem. But have you done the work to figure out and answer these questions? Have you taken the steps and been on this journey of who is that higher being? How did I get here? Why am I here? What is my body? What is my soul? Until you figured that out, you're not going to be able to see what is the relationship between you and the rest of the world, right? It's going to be hard for you because you're always going to be confused. Why am I here? What is my purpose? Who am I? How did I get here? Did somebody create me? And we just sometimes, most people are asleep to this fact because they don't search it or they don't have the inquisitiveness to do it. But if you want to be successful in life, it's something you have to start. Now, I'm not recommending any process or any journey at this point. I'm not even saying one is higher, one is more deeper. No, the first thing is figure it out, and that you have to do that yourself. No one can do it for you, right? So once you know that relationship, then you can only have good relationships with other people.
That's beautiful. That's so powerful. The way that I love how you share this invitation with us, regardless where we are, what our beliefs are. Like, do the work, ask these questions, and I appreciate and experience for myself the necessity of relationships and being able to share our heart. I'm answering the questions. I'm being a student here with all the others. And so when you say, do you have those people in your life that you can, share your heart with? For me, the answer is yes. I have a few, and though it requires, like, there's some resistance can come up. It requires some vulnerability. It requires an effort. And I mean, truthfully, like right now, all of my every waking second is kind of immersed in this conference, which I love. And there's some things that have come up from this conference, which is why we're here, that I really look forward to being in conversation with, just to talk and to express. Like there's nothing to fix, but just being able to share. And I'm glad I don't feel compelled to open Chat GPT and look for answers, because I feel it's going to require a friend like you, a therapist, like a teacher, a mentor, and it's so important. So I feel you, and I appreciate that this is the first, ours relationships. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you say this, like when you're making this point that you're so glad that you're not opening ChatGPT and you have people around you, it just made me think of all the people who don't have the people around them, right? And all the people who are opening ChatGPT right now out of loneliness, and that number is way higher. So again, my plea to everyone on this call, all 46 people, is yes, find that person around you, but also look out for that person who is looking for that person that you were once looking for, and with that service, you can give back. And I think one of the things is that people, we feel shy, we feel we're not ready to guide someone, we're not ready to mentor someone, we're not really, but you'll be surprised how much you have to offer already, you know. It can be so simple, it can be so simple, but it's profound, how much impact. And we all need to change this in the world, we all need to be there for each other.
And
um
I just want to say, thank you for that reminder as well. It's not just, I mean, my both of my ex-wives will tell you, I'm, I take care of myself, and it's important we take care of ourselves. And so my first response went to like, hey, do I have those people? But we have to look at the other side. Am I being that for people? And of course, I've got friends and students here, and some of them are, actually in recovery and guiding others in recovery. And it's important that it's both, right? I love that idea of the teacher, the peer, and those that we guide, and making sure they're somewhat balanced.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. I'm the same. I also am the same, in the same boat as everyone here. Like, um, trying to make that balance. Like you, as again, I'm like a student. I'll just share the other three, and then maybe we can open up for questions as well, because it'd be nice to hear from others and take questions, and from you as well. So very quickly, the I is for being in the moment. So yeah, very often we're seeing this a lot in the modern world, in the mainstream world of mindfulness, being present, being conscious, and it's become a real mm, problem now for people, because we're in the age of distraction, right? Weapons of mass distraction, which some of our spiritual teachers say. And we've even lost the idea of being bored. If you walk through um, Starbucks now, everybody will be on their phone. If you go on a tube station, everyone's looking at their phone. Nobody's present, nobody's conscious. And yeah, everybody knows how important it is to give that full attention, that full time to somebody, and not having to think about so many other things. So this idea of being in the moment is practicing meditation, yoga, internal practice. We should all have our own internal routine, whether it be journaling, chanting, meditating, yoga, running. All of these things help. Yes, we may say, and again, I'm not going to prescribe anything, but we may say one is more better, one is more essential. You have to try all of them, right? Try, see what works. Um, but whatever it is, have your own internal routine, have your own thing that gives you peace. Maybe on the chat, maybe people can just write, like, what is it that gives them peace? One thing, whether it's meditation, running, yoga, we always have that one thing that's going to help ground you. And we all have to do this. We all have to do this internal work. And that's the idea of being in the moment. And for example, for Bhakti Yoga, there's a certain process, there's a certain practice, right? That you have chanting, you have reading, there's certain things that are essential. But whatever it is for you, you figure that out. So that's being in the moment. And the second part, which is equally important, is the discovering the self, right? And in Sanskrit, both these things, you could say your Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma. Sanatan Dharma is universal. So every soul has to find their internal practice, their internal process, their internal connection. that they have, right? Their own routine or their own way of connecting with something higher. And your swadharma is the external connection that you use as your dharma, as your occupation, as your tool. So they say everybody will have a certain nature. Some people are more scholarly and more wisdom sharers, like we could say Brahminical in the Sanskrit. Maybe we'll have some expert speakers sharing more about this thing. You have the Kshatriyas who are the managers. You have the Vaishyas who are the money generators or the resource generators. You have the Sudras who are the artists or the workers. So in one sense, you have your own unique contribution. There's many ways you can find that out, like Ikigai. There is, certain coaching you can have, trying different professions, trying different occupations, seeing where you fit, right? And it's like there's this quote from Einstein: if you judge how well a fish can climb a tree, it's always going to end up feeling stupid. So you have a unique purpose, and this is what we want to also share with youngsters, with children, is that you're special and you have a unique gift. And if you find that unique gift in life, then you're going to be much, much happier. There's actually a quote from the Bhagavad Gita. It says, it's better to find and do your duty imperfectly than to do somebody else's perfectly. Right? So even if one of the misconceptions, even if I'm good at something and I'm better at it than most people, if it's not my own dharma, then I shouldn't be doing it because it's never going to leave me fulfilled. And I'll just finish with the last one, and then we can discuss. The last one is enlivening acts. So Bhakti Yoga, which is the prayojana, the perfection of life. Perfection of life is when we serve, when we give, giving back. Even health studies show that patients who are depressed, they looked at three different measures, three different therapies of what gave them the most relief from depression. The first one was taking pills. The second one was cognitive behavioral therapy. And the third one was service. So doing some service for other people. And out of the three, obviously there are no guesses for which one came out on top. The number one was the most effective, was doing service for others, volunteering. And they looked at why was that the case. And they saw that when you basically put somebody else in the center, you forget about yourself. You forget about your own problems. You forget this self-identification, this idea of self-pity, thinking about yourself. Now, I'm not saying that people who are depressed, who have anxiety, shouldn't seek help. They shouldn't take tablets. I come from a medical background, so I believe in all of these things. I believe there's a need for these things. And the example I like to give to my patients is sometimes you need these things almost like as a scaffolding, right? To when you're building a house, you sometimes need the scaffolding to then put the bricks, right? So if you are in a struggling space, you need these things to add the bricks. However, the scaffolding isn't permanent, right? The scaffolding is temporary, so you have to take that away. But the bricks are permanent, and the bricks is your practice, your service, your giving back, and that's what gives you the foundation. And I'll end on this story, and then we'll open up. Is how I actually what really transformed me for service and understanding is I had when I was turning 30, my close friend at the time had organized this rooftop bar party in Kensington in central London. And it was supposed to be like, an amazing night where my friends got together and it was going to be wonderful and supposed to be enjoyable. And then somehow or another that night we had an argument. As you do, you may have experienced this before. In relationships, you have an argument, they get annoyed about something, I don't know what. And then so if something minor, then it blows up. So I remember thinking like, what a miserable evening I had, what a miserable night. And the following year, I was listening to His Holiness Radhanath Swami, and he was talking about how in the ancient times, when it was your birthday, it wasn't about um, people giving you gifts or people celebrating your day or making you feel loved and appreciated. Actually, it was about you doing service for others. So he gave a story how Balaram, Krishna's brother, he was basically, it was his birthday and he was basically told to stay home and serve the saintly people, right? He was supposed to serve. So that was the tradition, is he was supposed to give back, right? And that made me realize, like, okay, like let me try this. 1 year I've tried where I've expected. Now let me try and give. So I signed up for this Food for Life, and where we give food to the homeless. And I thought, let me try this. And yeah, I got there. We had a van. We unloaded the food. We cooked, and then there was all these cakes, and they had this rice and tea. And I remember giving cake to people, and I just thought, wow, this feeling is so much more nourishing than my previous year when people were giving me cake. Now I'm giving other people cake who don't have this, who don't even have a home, don't even have shelter. And that just changed my perspective of the idea of service, because when we give, actually, it's we're the ones who are receiving. So yeah, that's how my kind of realization changed. And yeah, I would say like from whatever I've learned, this rise principle has kind of stuck with me in my journey.
I love it. That's so beautiful. To see how your life journey, your life experiences has what has, come to this understanding and this framework of rise. And we could go deep on any of the different areas, and we're going to take audience Q&A here in a moment. So if you want, raise your hand, get our attention. But maybe, one question I'll ask on behalf of many of the yoga teachers and those live and watching the recording is this idea of finding our dharma, right? And so we had a speaker yesterday, Sadhvi, and she said really beautifully, if something feels good, if you really enjoy it, then do it. Like, enjoy that activity. But this idea of not being attached to it. Don't do it for the result. Do it because you genuinely enjoy that service or that activity. And of course, in the yoga community, there's an array of different experiences. Some here have gone on to open yoga studios and retreat centers, and working with professional hockey players and teaching yoga on cruise ships, and then many of us are we're just kind of doing it, but it's not generating a lot of Lakshmi at this point, not a lot of wealth yet. And so there's this conversation sometimes of like, is this my dharma? I love it. I love the practice. I love sharing it with others. Haven't figured out a way to like really monetize it or, be sustain my lifestyle at this point. How does somebody know, like, is that your dharma? Is that your core dharma? Is that like your side hustle dharma? Like how do we be in relationship? I say that because there's a lot of yoga teachers, but we can all think maybe of a habit or a project that we love. How do we kind of really know if it's our dharma?
Amazing. Thank you for asking that question. It's interesting. So one thing I didn't share or didn't share, which is kind of will resonate with people of I was working in the medical background. So I worked in the NHS, I had a pharmacy background, I did extra training, became a GP pharmacist, and received many positions and posts. And very quickly I realized like this isn't making me fulfilled. Like I want to give something back. I want to give something deeper. I want to live more my dharma. And I remember having a conversation with a close friend of ours, Keshav Swami, and he was like, and this opportunity came up to work in a project, and he was like, no, you should do this project. It's a great idea. It's a great project. And I was thinking, how am I going to sustain? How am I going to basically do both? Like, how can I earn money and serve in this project? And then I realized, like, if I basically had a desire, like the first thing was I had a desire to serve, right? I had a desire to do something deeper. I had actually written down my 5 year goals, and part of my 5 year goals was to like come out of work to serve in a project, etc. But what I was seeing is, um, through that endeavor, through that heart, things were unfolding, the opportunities were unfolding. And what I decided to do was not do a drastic thing where I jumped out of my career completely or I stopped it completely. I decided to gradually move towards service, gradually move towards a career where I can get paid or I can do something that I love and is giving back. So I started working part-time. I started doing this project with Keshav Swami part-time. Then I started working on this other project called Thinking that we're doing. So it was a real gradual process. And I also trusted in the higher purpose, the higher power for the opportunities to open up, the doors to open up. And yeah, what I can say to anyone here is number one, have trust. And number two, um, give priority to your life of what's important, right? Like give that priority. If in your heart you feel that service, yoga, spirituality is important, give it priority, give it your all. Money, stability, all of these things will come. It will manifest, it will happen, but you have to have trust. You have to have sincerity. You have to take guidance. You have to have the willingness to be open to the magic to let it happen, you know. But it will. So
Thank you for that. We need to hear that. Just having faith, and it's so true. And it works out somehow. But we got some beautiful souls here with questions. Let's bring on Swati first, our dear friend in Mumbai, India. Welcome, Swati.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for so much for this amazing class. So my question is related to you mentioned that we should have a four kind of relationship. So and one of them was about peer. So like you said, it should be someone like we can guide and like we can have that relationship and where we can be vulnerable. So like I want to know like how can we develop that relationship? Like I have been going to the temple for like a good year, but like when it comes to the devotee, it's like a very different kind of situation. With the material friends, we can be like talk anything and like we can just get along. But with the devotees, we have to be very sincere and very mindful of our words. So like how can we develop that relationship and like how do we know that that person is right for me, or is it that natural course of time, or is it like this Krishna will add it like automatically we'll get that realization that yeah, that person is someone we can guide and like be help us. That's it.
thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the hardest things to find the right people, to find the people that we can connect with. And I would say the first thing when you were answering this question, the first thing that popped into my mind was sometimes just by going to a place or one or two places regularly, it's not enough. And this is where the idea of retreats and visiting spiritual places comes. Because when we go on a retreat or when we go to a spiritual place or when we go as a group, you actually form a certain bond, you form a certain experience, you form a certain, I don't know, there's something magical that happens where you form a real relationship with someone. So, in very simple terms, like if you want to find somebody or cultivate relationships, go on retreats, visit spiritual places with people, find people that you can go with, or even if it's people you don't know, to experience things with. And also, it is a trial and error thing as well. Like you have to see who you connect with. You're not going to connect with everyone. Yes, like people are different. People on different wavelengths, right? And it's okay. It's fine not to love everyone and be hunky dory with everyone. Respect them, yes, but you still have to make the endeavor to try and get to know someone, to make the effort. Um, like I'm I want to use this as an example, but I feel embarrassed to use it. But it's like my mom, she's like, oh, you should get married. And then I'm like, okay, fine. But she's like, you got to make the endeavor to get to know the person. Like, it's not just gonna happen, you know? So in one sense, she's right. I have to make the endeavor to get to know the person. Otherwise, how will I know? You know?
Swati.
Yeah, actually, about the retreat, I have been to the retreat, but I don't know, like, I'm just not able to really find that person. So I think I'll follow that and I'll make the endeavor and trust Krishna along the path. So thank you so much for answering your question.
Well, I got some. I'm going to trust that this was arranged by Krishna because just yesterday, knowing you're in Maharashtra, you're in Mumbai,
Yes.
and we every year we go to Govardhan Eco Village, which is in Maharashtra, and we do a retreat there. And so we do every November, and Angie and Andrea and many others who are here will be with us again this year. I just had the idea yesterday. We wanted to offer you a scholarship to join this November. So if you're up
Oh,
for it, I will get you the dates. Full scholarship. Come join us at Govardhan Eco Village. Maybe you're going to meet a beautiful soul there to connect with. We'd love to support you in that way.
oh my God, thank you so much. I would love to definitely. And birthday, like in November is my birthday, so it's like an amazing gift for me.
You're such a gift. You bring such a bright light, Swati. Last year at the Bhakti Yoga Conference, this year, like I think, do you say, are you a teenager?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
I'm
amazing.
first
So
studying right
you're,
now.
a student, a teenager studying, like fine on this path. There's other beautiful teenage souls there at the Govardhan Eco Village. And yeah, we'll be in touch with you and can't wait to meet in person this fall.
Same. Thank you so much. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, we're sending our love, gratitude to Swati, Mumbai in the house. And then
Amazing.
let's bring we got a couple more questions. Let's get Angie on the line. Angie was with us at Govardhan Eco Village and she is also such a bright light. Angie, welcome to the conference.
Hello, thank you, Raj. I didn't know I would have an opportunity to hop on. I didn't even know who the speaker was going to be this morning. And like Jack was saying, there are no coincidences. And I think Krishna just said, you need to be here today. So very glad to be here. I love the information that you're sharing. It resonates so much with me. I get, I don't. The biggest thing for me that I have the hardest time MacGyvering is feeling that like I feel this passion for service. I have all the things that you're talking about, like I have someone that can guide me. I have, people that I guide. I'm passionate about service. I'm passionate about the 12 steps. I'm passionate about how the 12 steps relate to the Bhagavad Gita. I'm passionate about learning more about Krishna. I'm passionate about going to spiritual places. I feel like I'm into action. I'm not just saying, here I am, I'm doing all these things. I'm trying to, have this faith over fear. Step 3 for me is when we make a decision to turn our will, our lives, and our actions over to God as we understand them, which is I'm trying so beautifully to do. Like it's not hard for me. But what I feel is I feel like this sense of where I'm just not in the right space. I know it's not over here and it's not over here. I know it's here. But I have like this feeling of it's not enough. And I don't know how to explain this, but that what I need to give, I just don't understand. Does that make sense? Like I'm on this path to this bigger place, but I feel like I'm in this almost purgatory, and it's not that I'm displeased with what's around me. I know how to show up with love. I'm learning more about myself. I even have decided to speak with a yoga therapist to really, deepen my self-realizations, to connect to, everything I was before my identities. Like I'm doing all of these things, and I just feel like something's not clicking. Like maybe there's this great big thing, and for some reason, it's like when Tony Robbins says, I want you to look at this picture and find everything brown. And then you do that. And then afterwards, there's something blue. Where was the blue? I don't know. I don't know. And I kind of like that's kind of an analogy for the place I'm in at my most vulnerable self, is feeling like everything's just not quite fitting right now. And I'm not displeased, but I feel like I'm off the track a little bit. It's like I'm on the path, but it's like quicksand in a way. Every time I keep going forward, it's like I'm sinking a little bit, but not into, that, what is it, Jnana, the knowledge. Um, and I'm backwards, like I didn't have to read the Bhagavad Gita to get the knowledge. I feel like every time I read the Bhagavad Gita, it just makes sense. Just makes sense, like I'm not scholarly. I don't have, like, my spiritual came before the Bhagavad Gita, but the Bhagavad Gita just said, welcome. We're glad you're here. Um, that's what's on my heart. And I guess I opened a lot, but like I know I'm a teacher. I know I'm a teacher.
Mhm.
I know I'm passionate about connection. Um, and I know my faith in Krishna and a higher power is there, but I feel like I'm just not walking the path I'm meant to in some way.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, Angie, it's this is a feeling that I would say you're not alone. I think a lot of people have this feeling where everything seems right, everything seems in place. You know the answers are there, you have experienced it. But for some reason there's a disconnect, or some reason you feel you're going backwards, you're off track, or you feel like, okay, what's happening, right? And this feeling is sometimes, you could say, like it's almost natural for it to come and go, because there's a certain alignment that's waiting to happen. There's a certain path finding you're waiting to do,
Yeah.
and um and that's okay. That's completely okay. But it is signaling to you, your mind, your body, your heart is signaling to you that, Angie, there's something more. There's something more. There's another step. There's another dimension. There's something that's needed to be integrated.
Yeah.
And and I would say, like, for me, what's helped is the more I seek association of spiritual people, not just about uh not just like casually, like going to the spiritual places, etc., but actually on a deeper level. Like, how can I go and serve someone saintly? How can I go and serve somebody who has s- something I'm looking for, like this? And when I've done that, when I've tried to serve saintly people, I would say every time I have had like a realization or an opening or a guidance, not just by speaking, but by observing, but by associating, being around them, serving them.
Mhm.
Um, so anyway, this is coming from my heart. What I feel to share with you is um, that sometimes the key to the next step is with somebody else who has been through the next step, and not just by asking them the questions, but by observing their behavior, serving them. There's a verse in the Gita, right? It says that one should approach somebody for guidance submissively, right? Through serving them. So if you have that mood, then I feel like the next step can be unlocked.
I have to share with you one of my biggest shifts, paradigm shifts, was bowing and feeling the power and that connection of um, just all of it. And I'm glad you're speaking from your heart, because I think there is a higher power in it too. And to be able to observe the saintly, when I think about the speakers I picked out, they all have what I want. Like, there's this excitement, there's this passion. I couldn't even ask questions because I was too busy saying thank you for being here, like, which is incredible. That's extremely helpful. And thank you for that spiritual intuition and it's a new stepping stone. I just feel kind of plateaued in what I'm able to absorb at the moment. I feel like I've been there, done that in a lot of ways, as far as exploring, and that opens up a new path for me. So I'm extremely grateful for Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful share. And Angie, we're so proud of you. Like, just to see the progress that you've made this past year, so that we've been hanging out and we've been in community together, and just appreciate your vulnerability, right? Because like from the outside, I'm sure for many in our community, be like, man, this girl's got her stuff together. Like you're just like in the flow, and you do in such a sense. So thank you for your honesty of like, hey, even if like on the outside things are starting to fall in place, it doesn't mean there's not still work to be done. So really appreciate that. We'll send our love, gratitude to Angie here in Muskoka, Ontario, Canada, representing. And so we're on time. I feel like would you have time for one quick one, Rajiv?
I have time. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm available.
Just because we haven't heard from Bhagawati Dasi yet. So if we can't keep it kind of succinct and efficient, but we'd love to get you on here. Welcome to Bhakti Yoga Conference. Oh, we just get you back off mute.
Hare Krishna, Jai Gurudev. Firstly, thank you for organizing this. This is my second year attending the conference, and it's lovely. So I'm one of the lucky ones, let's say, where I have found my Dharma, I'm doing it, I'm serving my guru, and there's nothing more fulfilling than that. And in this path, I also teach yoga and meditation here in New York City. I found people have this willingness to live happily, to find their purpose. But something I've realized for myself is that I find it very difficult for somebody to stay really disciplined and committed to this pursuit and this life if, like you guys were just sharing, you are not really serving a guru or a spiritual being. So for those people who maybe that's not in their life path right now, because everyone, finds it at their own pace, at their own time, what have you found to be the highest motivator for people?
So you're saying what is the highest motivator if somebody doesn't have like a higher guru or a person to serve? Is that the question?
Thanks. Yes, not that they don't have a guru, but that maybe they're not that interested in that part, or maybe they're not that interested in really going deep spiritually. They may be, living life, serving their family and society, and that in that stage.
Yeah. So what's the motivator for them, right? And and I always like to use this example as like we're serving regardless, right? You're serving your dog, you're serving your family, you're serving your boss, right? Everyone is doing a service for someone somewhere, and you're serving your senses even. And there is this natural tendency for us to serve. It's like a human innate nature, like we want to serve, and naturally we're constantly just serving. But it's about transitioning from serving with the mood of serving, the self for the self-satisfaction, to serving something higher. And if you study most people, they want to do good, right? Most people innate, they want to do good. Even people who are doing bad, they feel like they're doing good, right? Like even they feel, even if you speak to somebody in the drug gang, right, they feel they're doing something good. So it's in our human tendency that we want to do something positive. Now, dovetailing that is how you can help somebody to come out of this idea of serving the self, right? Is yes, you can still serve, you can still be a family person, but you're just adding a higher consciousness to that. You're adding a higher purpose to that, or you're adding God or divinity, etc. to that. So very simple adjustments to make for that person, because in spirituality, we don't say you uproot your life, you don't go to the forest, you don't just change everything. You still be the same, but your consciousness changes. And that's what essentially Bhakti Yoga is. And this is what we're trying to do, is just change the consciousness. So you still do the same things, but the reason you're doing it is different, right? The person, the CEO in New York, you said you're in New York, right? The CEO in New York, what is the difference between the CEO in New York that's spiritual and the CEO that's not spiritual? The CEO that's practicing Bhakti Yoga and the CEO who isn't. The one who is not practicing Bhakti Yoga is working for the self, for the senses, and to achieve fame and accolade for himself. The one who's doing the Bhakti Yoga is trying to serve higher beings, serve people, and not putting himself in the center, but putting that higher cause in the center. And actually, the person who is serving for the higher cause can be even more determined, can be even more enthusiastic. Why? Because he has a bigger purpose, a bigger motivation. So harnessing that motivation step by step, moving somebody from that motivation for the self to that motivation for something higher, step by step, is how we basically take them on that journey. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I'm not sure if that's what you were looking for or not.
Kind of. Yes, I guess maybe more practically, how would you move them through that journey? Something that you found effective for most people, I'd say.
Yeah, like how do you move somebody? Yeah, I would say they say like the biggest influence you have is through okay, two things I'll say. One is sharing ideas, sharing something higher, like sharing, okay, this is an idea, sharing something higher, so giving them knowledge, which can move people, right? When you share something that resonates with someone, then that's kind of powerful. But actually, the best way and the most effective way that is there but the most effective way is to be personal with people, right? When we are personal with people, this makes the biggest difference, right? If I know that if I know somebody cares about me, if I know somebody loves me, if I know somebody has my best interest at heart, then I'm going to be more open and receptive to what they're going to say, right? They say people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Children who are happy are good learners. Children who are not happy are not good learners. The same is with adults. If you can show love to someone on a personal level, this will make the biggest difference. We've sometimes overlooked this. One-to-ones, one-to-one interactions, one-to-one association, but because everyone's individual, right? And bhakti is about personalism. I'm glad you brought this point up so I can make this point. It's such an important point. Bhakti is personalism.
Beautiful. Such a great question. Such a beautiful response. Let's send our love, gratitude to Bhagawati Dasi, representing New York City. Love it. Thank you so much. And Prabhu, Raj, thank you so much for your time today. Such an honor to have you here with us. Just parting words. Want to be respectful of time. We've got another call on the next hour with another beautiful soul. What would you kind of leave us with as we walk forward?
Yeah, I'm just grateful to you all. And I'd just like to leave that you are all empowered souls. You are all gifts, and you all have a gift to give to others. So I'm not here just as a speaker sharing something that I know. I'm also a student like you. And whatever I know, also you guys equally know. You guys are equally empowered. So my request, my plea to all of you is go out there, share love with people, share that kindness, and serve, and we can make the world a better place.
Beautiful. I love it. Such an honor. I'm so grateful that, Krishna brought us together a few months ago and that we can just, receive your wisdom in your heart and vulnerability. So we're sending all of our love, gratitude to our brother Raj over in the UK and to all of the beautiful souls, wishing you an amazing rest of the day. Join us again on the top of the next hour. And we'll share some links as well to stay connected with Raj.
Perfect. I'll share my Instagram or
Please.
LinkedIn.
Instagram, LinkedIn, if you get website, anything. We'll put that all under the replay. And stay in touch. Wishing you all an amazing rest of the day. And we'll see you soon. Hare Krishna.
Haribol!
Hare
Haribol!
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.